Pick a spot and let your focus go gently out of focus, your eyes. And we're going to start by taking some breaths. And on your next exhale, relax your body into the chair. And on your next exhale, relax into the chair and feel it support you, as well as the ground beneath your feet. And as you exhale again, allow yourself to feel your mind and your mind's ideas and thoughts just slip away. And with your next exhale, you're going to follow your breath down into your heart space, into that place where you know that God dwells within you. And in this sacred space, we invite in and recognize divine peace. Without any force, we release any anxiety or turmoil or questions. And let this be a sacred space where you dwell with divine peace. Rest in the peace of God that will fill you all the way up. And you will feel peace throughout your entire being. It is from this place of oneness and divine peace that all your choices and decisions will be made. For today, at one with the divine, at one with divine peace, you know how to proceed. You know how to choose what you say and do. We give thanks for this indwelling peace, the divine peace that is ours at any moment with simply a breath. So breathe in that deep, satisfying peace. We give thanks that not only does the divine dwell with us, but the peace of God dwells with us, for we are peace. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I do appreciate it. So can I take a sip of water? Thanks. I've been your minister for a month. Yes. And it's just been a wonderful month. I so appreciate everything y'all have done to make Carol and I feel welcome. You get little gifts, cards, taught me how to say Prescott, and that means so much. But we want you to know how very blessed we feel to be here after our first month. And thank you for being here this morning. I want to tell you about a fellow that I met once, some years back. His name was Mr. Montel. And he imparted something to me that I've never forgotten. I want to talk to you this morning about the wisdom of Mr. Montel. Where I met him, I was at that point an associate minister and was tasked, with various administrative functions. And I was at this point tasked with getting a trash dumpster for the church. Very exciting. And I met with the salesman for this waste company, Mr. Montel. Or at least I thought that's what his last name was. A very handsome African-American man, great personality. You could tell he was suited for sales. And I didn't quite catch his last name. So being a good Southern boy with the tradition, of Mr. and Miss or Mr. and Mrs., I said, I referred to him as Mr. Montel, which I caught his first name. And as we went through the conversation, I could tell Mr. Montel was wanting to let me know that wasn't his last name. But he was reluctant to correct me. Have you ever done that? Have you ever gotten a conversation so far that it became too late to correct it? Somebody called me Mikey. And I hated to correct him, so I was Mikey, and I just answered to Mikey after that. You ever done that? Well, that's what me and Mr. Montel were doing. I realized that wasn't his last name, but I was trying to be respectful. He thought, he must not know that's not my last name. And I could tell he was wanting to say something about it as we kept discussing trash dumpsters. And at one point, I could tell he was finally going to, correct this little error. And he did that. I'll never forget. He went, like, we've gone too far now. What's the point? And also in another way, what does it really matter? And so I gained some wisdom from him from that at times the best way we can deal with certain things we hear or certain actions that people might take is this. Let it go. There's great wisdom in that, isn't it? How many know there's a time that's very appropriate? You want to say it and you realize, no. Just let it go, like Mr. Montel did. And I got to thinking how wise that gesture can be and how much pain we could avoid for ourselves and others if we had the wisdom of Mr. Montel. And when something comes to mind, we just got to say, we let it go. Maybe not. But I got to thinking, Carol and I come from the Memphis area. It's just rife with violence and shootings. And most every one of them are a result of angry impulse, not premeditation, but just something somebody said or did, something that irks somebody. And instead of the wisdom of Mr. Montel, take a step back, count to 10, they just pull out a firearm over the most ridiculous things, right, dear? Somebody's Taco Bell order got messed up. They pull a gun. That's not premeditated. That's impulse control problems. And Memphis is full of it. But how many know we all can learn from Mr. Montel about impulse control? Isn't that right? Try that with me. Just practice it at home. It does wonders for the world. I got to think, being a history nerd, I look back, how many know not only individuals can be too impulsive, but nations can be too impulsive. World leaders can be too impulsive. World War I is an excellent example. It was a useless war that accomplished nothing but a lot of death. And it came as a result of impulse. One archduke was assassinated, and suddenly everybody's got to declare war on everybody else. And we got to defend our ethnic pride, and we've got to defend our national boundary. And before you know it, the whole world is consumed because of impulse, not because anything was thought through. And it's a lesson for us, the wisdom of Mr. Montel. I remember once I had a job where my boss, I found him difficult to work with or to work for, and it seemed like he was on my back constantly. And there were times I thought, I'm sure it was justified. I'm not saying it wasn't. There are other times I thought, no, that wasn't right. But this was going on, and the tension was building. And I would get called to his office, and I knew what that meant. It was never going to be pleasant. And I got called one day, and it's like I'd had all I could take. Said, he wants to see. Yeah, I want to see him too. And I was going to get me some. I'm telling you, I was in a bad attitude. And I walk in. First thing he does, looks up at me, smiles. He said, oh, your raise came through. I just want to let you know. I felt like such a moron. And I was. Because I wasn't going to exercise the wisdom. It's a good thing he caught me right at the door because, I was going to give him a piece of my mind. The peace nobody wants or needs. But if we had the wisdom of Mr. Montel, let it go. James put it this way in the first chapter of the book of James. You must understand this, my beloved brothers and sisters. Let everyone be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger. And I have violated every one of those at different parts in my life, haven't you? Slow to listen, quick to speak, and quick to get mad. But he said, human anger does not produce God's righteousness. He goes on further. If we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we guide their whole bodies a little bit. Anybody accomplished with horses? Oh, a few of us. Me, I never was. But I really liked the equine. And I remember one of my early experiences with him. I went to a conference that was also, it was on a working ranch. And they offered to take, some of us out horseback riding, which I had not done much. So I get on mine, seemed like a very kind, gentle animal. And suddenly it's doing this. And I said to the cowboy, why am I in reverse? He said, you're pulling back on his reins. I said, oh, I'm sorry. It makes sense. I didn't realize I was doing that. But that little bit in that horse's mouth would move that entire animal the direction you wanted to go. James said, a little bit can move a horse, or he said, look at ships. Though they're so large and driven by strong winds, yet they're guided by a very small rudder, wherever the will of the pilot directs. So also the tongue is a small member, but it boasts of great exploits. We can guide a horse with a tiny bit, can guide a multi-ton ship with a relatively small rudder, and said the tongue can be something that guides us either into destruction or joy in life. Interestingly, the average size of the human tongue is 4 inches in length. Gene Simmons is not the average, isn't that right? The average size of the human tongue is 4 inches in length. The male tongue weighs on average 2.5 ounces. The female tongue, 2 ounces. What does that mean? I have no idea. But it's an interesting fact, isn't it? But he goes on, how great a forest is set ablaze by such a small fire. And the tongue is a fire. The tongue can be a very destructive member. Though small, it can wreak tremendous damage. And it has destructive potential. Right on the other hand, the tongue has extraordinary potential to bring life and help and healing and encouragement, doesn't it? And that's the side I want to stay on. How about you? There's a healing power in the tongue. Proverbs 18:21 said, death and life are in the power of the tongue. Death and life. We can say things that are going to bring life to people. Or we can say things that are going to bring them down and discourage them. It's an amazing power that the tongue possesses. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruits. A good reason to follow the wisdom of Mr. Montel. There's a time just to, maybe I ought not say that. And then again, I think that would go off okay. But it's good to wait, isn't it? Proverbs chapter 13 said, from the fruit of their words, good persons eat good things. Do you know that expression? You're going to eat them words. And it's in a negative context, isn't it? You're going to regret you said that. But I say let's go to the bright side of it. You're going to eat them words. I want to eat them words. The words that I speak to you that bring you life and joy and encouragement and strength in your life. I want to eat those. Going, rah, 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 just eat them up and assimilate them and then give them back to you again. From the fruit of their words, good persons eat good things. And again, one of my favorite scriptures I quote so often, Proverbs 25:11, a word fitly spoken is like apples of gold in a setting of silver. Nothing like the right word at the right time, isn't it? It's beautiful, just like this description of apples of gold in a setting of silver. It's good for us, good for others that partake of it. Now, in Mark chapter 11, I want to show you an incident in the life of Jesus that really well illustrates the wisdom of Mr. Montel in regard to controlling impulse. In Mark 11, it's the story of Jesus going to the temple and cleansing it. Remember that story? He's overturning tables and whipping people and seemed very uncharacteristic of Jesus. But it's a tremendous metaphysical truth here. And they came to Jerusalem, and he entered the temple. And he began to drive out those who were selling and those who were buying in the temple. And he overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold doves. And he would not allow anyone to carry anything through the temple. Now, there was some literal things going on here because the temple there was some shady stuff going on in a place dedicated, to the honor of the God of Israel. And for example, in regard to selling animals, they would sell animals to people to use in the Jewish sacrificial system. And there were people that would buy an animal, they would pay money. Some of them had saved up for no telling how long to buy this sacrifice for their sins. And some unscrupulous dudes, instead of taking it to the priest, would bring it back to sell it again. Sell it over and over, and it never was used for the purpose it was intended. They were doing the same thing in regard to changing money, because you couldn't use Roman currency in the temple. You had to use Jewish currency, the shekel. And so in changing the money out, sometimes they would shortchange people and do stuff that was not at all godly or holy. So there was some stuff going on here that Jesus wanted to deal with. But I see a deeper truth here in regard to we each are temples, aren't we, of spirit? We each manifest the glorious love and truth of spirit in these temples that we live in. And at times we got to cleanse our temple. Isn't that true? At times we got to drive out some stuff that ain't good. Isn't that right? Somebody has well said, we tend to be ruthless with others, but gentle on ourselves. At times, we need to be ruthless on ourselves. Isn't that right? And gentle on others. There's times all right, straighten up, Quentin. What's wrong with you? That was stupid to say. That was stupid to think. There's times you got to be ruthless with yourself. Isn't that right? For your own good. Better that than somebody else tells you that, right? I'd rather get a hold of myself first. Then there's that next step. But some metaphysical truth here. The cleansing, as Mr. Fillmore said, cleansing our temple of error thought, of error thinking. And we see, first of all, Jesus forbade buying in the temple. It wasn't that buying was an illicit practice. The way they were doing it was illicit. But he said, it leads me to realize I need to quit buying what is not adding value to my inner life. Isn't that true? Don't buy that. Certain things people try to sell you as far as who you are and what you are, don't buy that because it's not. Quit buying what is not adding value to our inner life. Secondly, it said he drove out those who were selling. And we need to quit selling our precious time to useless pursuits. Isn't that true? And we need to discern, each of us discerns what is valuable and what is not. There's times I'm sitting watching TV and I'm thinking, should I be doing something else right now? And at times, no, I'm good. Because at times it's a perfectly appropriate thing to do. Isn't that right? Relax, unwind, nothing wrong with that. And if I wonder, I ask Carolyn. And I say, dear, is there anything I need to be doing? And I'll respond based on, her advice there. But we need to quit selling our time to what is useless, what does not serve us, what drains our energy instead of fortifying it. And he said, refuse to accept a shortchanging of our best life. There was shortchanging going on in the temple between the money changers. No longer allow our lives to be shortchanged by things that are not valuable for us. And then it struck me that he overturned the seats of those who sold doves. Doves, of course, represent a peace of spirit, refusing to trade anything for them. That's where the wisdom of Mr. Montel comes in. Am I going to trade the peace I have if I say this? Let it go. At times, that's exactly what you need to do. And then he said, Jesus refused to allow anyone to carry anything through the temple. And that leads us to a refusal to allow things to pass through our lives that are not of value to us, but are detrimental to us. Now, what stood out to me the most, something I didn't see for years in this passage concerning before Jesus actually went to the temple. Listen to this. It said, he entered Jerusalem and went into the temple. When he'd looked around at everything, as it was already late, he went out to Bethany with the 12. Interestingly, this was the day before the cleansing of the temple. He went in the day before to do nothing but look around. And he looks and, I don't like that. Don't like that. Really don't like that. All right, guys, let's go. And he came back the next day and then started the cleansing. It wasn't an impulsive act of anger, you see. It was a well-thought-out procedure that he knew he had to undertake. And that speaks to me. He had already been there the day before just checking things out before he acted. Nothing rash. Many people thought it was a rash. No, it wasn't. He dealt with it, and he accomplished this after consideration, peaceful consideration. So he didn't look so peaceful. Well, what appears on the outside doesn't necessarily reflect what's going on the inside. Isn't that true? And so he cleansed the temple deliberately and understanding what needed to be done. Because so much in life can wait a while. Have you noticed that? There's not that many things you have to jump on immediately. A fire, you don't want to wait on that one, right? Contemplate that. Being chased by a mountain lion, you don't want to, contemplate that either. Just put it in B for boogie and get out of there. But most everything else, there's a time for thought and deliberation and consideration, isn't it? And we need to take advantage of that. And recognize the wisdom of Mr. Montel. It's all right. It's cool. Dealing with unpleasant things in life should be prefaced with prayerful consideration so that we can apply the wisdom of Mr. Montel. So blessed be the name of Mr. Montel. Whatever his last name is, he is blessed. Stand with me if you would. Let's have our affirmation in closing, if you would be so kind. Repeat after me if you would, please. I have the wisdom of Mr. Montel. I pause before I speak or act. I speak the right thing at the right time. I speak that which brings forth good fruit. That's beautiful. Bless you. Thank you. You can have your seats. Do appreciate your kind attention.